The bomb just dropped in Washington. An elite receiver who broke the lead 2 seasons ago, a rookie quarterback changing the franchise narrative, and a college connection that could redefine the Commanders' offensive future. While the 2025 season crumbles with a 3-9 record, someone who could be the missing piece to turn Washington into a real contender. Mega signing imminent. Brandon Aiyuk, listen to this carefully, because this isn't cheap social media speculation. It's practically out of the bay. And guess who shows up as logical destination number 1? Washington, the damn Commanders. Now let me paint you the full picture. Aiyuk tore his anterior cruciate ligament in October 2024. The entire 2025 season he spent rehabbing. 0 games, 0 catches. But here's the detail nobody's discussing enough. Reports indicate Aiyuk has grown distant from the San Francisco organization throughout this entire year. It's not just an injury, it's a broken relationship. Teams don't hesitate. They cut him and move on. The Niners are going to release him. That's what all the insiders are saying. They're not carrying that salary into 2026. And when that happens, Adam Peters is going to be waiting with phone in hand. Why? Because Peters worked in San Francisco. But here's the real reason this makes so much sense. Jaden Daniels. Aiyuk and Daniels played together at Arizona State. 1,342 yards, 7 touchdowns. Average of 17.9 yards per reception. That's not a possession receiver. That's a deep field weapon. A guy who stretches defenses. And now imagine that next to Terry McLaurin. McLaurin has been Washington's number 1 receiver for years, carrying the entire offense on his shoulders. But with Aiyuk on the other side, defenses can't double cover both. They can't put a safety over the top of both. Someone's going to be one-on-one. And when you have Daniels throwing the ball, those one-on-one matchups become nightmares for defenses. Fowler isn't speculating randomly. He specifically wrote, one team to potentially watch for Aiyuk is Washington. That's not filler. That's information. That's Fowler hearing conversations in league hallways, general managers talking, agents positioning, teams preparing offers. And here's the other thing. When trade rumors surrounded Aiyuk before his extension in 2024, Washington was constantly mentioned as one of his preferred destinations. Why? Because of Daniels. Aiyuk wanted to play with his former teammate. That opportunity never materialized because San Francisco extended him. But now, with the Niners about to cut him, that door opens again. The question isn't whether Washington will pursue Aiyuk. The question is whether they can close the deal before other teams. Because they won't be the only ones calling. Teams with receiver needs are going to be lining up. But Washington has advantages others don't. Daniels would have the weapons he needs, and the Commanders would have one of the most dangerous receiver rooms in the FC. That's not fantasy. That's real rebuild strategy. And it's about to happen. Leave your comment below. Better, not excellent, not dominant, but better. The defense has shown more discipline, more zone coverage, fewer third down disasters, and now Quinn is hinting he might keep that role next season. When asked directly about the possibility of remaining defensive coordinator in 2026, Quinn said, I think, yeah, there's a possibility of it. As I'm going through it, I'm finding a battle rhythm to go, so I'm not sure where I'm at on that yet. I haven't discussed or gone down that road too far yet, but yeah, I would say that's a possibility. That's concerning, and let me explain why. First, very few head coaches in the NFL also coordinate one side of the ball. Sean McVay coordinates the offense in Los Angeles, but those are exceptional cases. Quinn isn't in that category yet in Washington. He's in his 2nd season, and that 2nd season has been an absolute disaster. Second, if Quinn stays as defensive coordinator and the defense is bad again in 2026, who are they going to blame? Him. There's no scapegoat. There's no coordinator to fire. There's nobody else to point at. Quinn becomes the target. And when owners and general managers start looking for culprits, they need someone who can maximize that talent. Quinn staying as coordinator is the safe play. It's the conservative play. But it's not the play that's going to turn this defense into an elite unit. That was a smart adjustment. Washington's defense doesn't have the cornerbacks to play man all game, but playing zone allows them to help each other, allows them to read the quarterback, allows them to make plays on the ball. And the results have been better, but that's an adjustment. It's not a completely new defensive scheme. And if Quinn stays as coordinator, they're probably going to keep running variations of the same system. There won't be real innovation. There won't be real evolution. Compare that to hiring Cliff Kingsbury as offensive coordinator. That was an aggressive move, and it's worked. Daniels has thrived in Kingsbury's system when he's been healthy. The offense has shown flashes of being explosive. Why not do the same on defense? Why not go after a high-profile defensive coordinator? Someone like Vic Fangio. Someone like Steve Spagnuolo if the Chiefs let him go. Someone who has a proven track record of building elite defenses. And here's the other thing. If Quinn stays as defensive coordinator, he's probably going to keep Joe Witt Jr. in some role. Because you can't just fire someone and then keep their job without giving them some kind of compensation or reduced role. Why not do a complete clean sweep and start fresh with a new coordinator and completely new defensive staff? The reality is this. Quinn needs to decide if he wants to be a head coach or a defensive coordinator. He can't be both effectively. Not at this stage of his career. Not with a franchise that desperately needs stability and direction. If he stays as defensive coordinator and things go wrong in 2026, his seat is going to heat up fast. And owners won't hesitate to make a change. But if he hires an elite coordinator and the defense improves, Quinn looks like a leader who makes smart decisions. But in the NFL, ego often clouds judgment. And that's what worries me about this situation. News 3. Title: Heroic Performance Marcus Mariota vs. Broncos. Now let's talk about someone who left everything on the field Sunday. Marcus Mariota. Jaden Daniels recovers from multiple injuries. Mariota has started 6 games this season. He's won only 1. But his performance against the Denver Broncos in overtime was everything you can ask from a backup quarterback. 55 rushing yards on 10 carries. Those aren't MVP numbers. But they're numbers from a guy who refused to quit. A guy who fought until the last second. Like when it's time to will the team to go do that, that's really what I saw. I thought to play passes. And using his arm, using his legs to go. I thought that came through. But in some of the winning time, moments just throwing absolute dimes. I thought it was like a warrior performance at quarterback. And sometimes those are hits. And you stay and you make them. But I had known who the leader was, but that solidified, just an absolute man like put it on me kind of performance to go find a way. That's high praise coming from Quinn. And it's justified. Because Mariota didn't just play well statistically. He played with heart. He played with urgency. He saw single coverage on Samuel. He trusted his arm. And he put the ball exactly where it needed to be. Then came the decision to go for 2 points instead of kicking the extra point to tie. Quinn didn't hesitate. Mariota didn't hesitate. The play was there. Jeremy McNichols was wide open in the flat. But Denver linebacker Nick Bonito made an incredible play. He swatted the pass at the last second. Game over. Commanders lose 27-26. Mariota said after the game, "I loved it. I don't think there was any doubt in our minds across the board. I appreciate the confidence from Q. It was just unfortunate we were unable to convert." That's the right mentality. No excuses. No finger pointing. Just acceptance that the play didn't work. But here's the thing. Mariota proved something important Sunday. He proved he can make difficult throws under pressure. And he proved he can lead a locker room. Now, does that mean he should be the starter in 2026? Absolutely not. A guy you can trust if your starter gets injured. A guy who won't panic if he has to play 2 or 3 weeks. And that has value. Especially in a league where quarterbacks get injured all the time. Look what happened to Washington this year. Daniels dislocated his elbow. He's missed 6 games. Without Mariota, this season could have been even worse. The other aspect of Mariota's performance that can't be ignored is his ground game. 55 yards on 10 carries. That's over 5 yards per carry, and several of those runs were on 3rd down. They were first down conversions. They were plays that kept drives alive. Mariota has always been a dangerous runner. That was part of his identity at Oregon. That was part of his identity in Tennessee. He said the two-point conversion attempt was a perfectly designed play. He said Mariota could have thrown it as high as he wanted because nobody was covering McNichols. And he was right. The play was there. It just wasn't executed. But that doesn't take away from everything Mariota did before that moment. The 2 touchdowns he threw, the third down conversions he made, the hits he absorbed and got up from. Nick said afterward, a guy like that, he deserves to go out there and perform at that level. You almost wish both teams could win a game like that. That's respect. And that's what Mariota earned Sunday. Respect. Now the question is, will Mariota return in 2026? His contract expires after this season. He'll become a free agent, and there will probably be teams interested. Teams that need a quality backup. Teams that value leadership and experience. But if Washington is smart, they'll try to bring him back. Because having Mariota as your number 2 quarterback is a luxury. He's someone who knows the system. Someone who can come in and win games if necessary. So there you have it. 3 stories that define where the Commanders are right now. A potential star signing that could change the offense. A coaching decision that could explode or elevate the defense. And a veteran quarterback who proved he can still compete. This franchise is at a crossroads. The decisions they make this offseason will determine whether they return to the playoffs in 2026 or have another losing season. Adam Peters has to close the deal with Aiyuk. Dan Quinn has to decide whether to hire an elite defensive coordinator or keep the role himself. And the team has to decide whether to bring back Mariota or look for another backup. The next few months are going to be critical. And if you're a Commanders fan, you better be paying attention. Because what happens now will define the next 3 to 5 years of this franchise.